Salutations, my friends. Hello, my name is Maria. This is Love Party Paint. And in today's video, we are going to be discussing how you can take professional looking photos of your art. So you can make prints, post them on your social media, or get your art sold faster. Please meet me back at the canvas. Meet me back at the canvas. Meet me back at the canvas. Back at the canvas. Meet me back. Meet me back at the canvas. Ooh, yeah, I'm not putting that in there because it's super embarrassing. Okay? Come on, let's go. It's gonna be fun. And I'm gonna show you examples, so that's super awesome. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Thanks for meeting me back at my canvas. I can't even breathe. These pants are so tight. I think I'm gaining weight, which is probably a good thing because I'm too skinny. Oh, God, they're like so tight. And yes, my hair is blue. I'm an old lady who's gaining weight because I've been eating too much and I dyed my hair blue because I'm going through a midlife crisis. So what you gonna do about it? Nothing. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Let's get into our tips right away. I will also be showing you some examples of what to do and what not to do. So my first tip is to study photography. I have spent countless hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours watching photography videos, learning about the manual settings on my camera, learning about different lighting techniques, and I've spent the past probably year and a half studying photography. So that's my first tip, is to study, study, study. So my second tip is your lighting. You must have a good light source for your paintings or art or whatever medium it is that you're taking pictures of to look good. My top suggestion, if you live in a warm climate and it's not winter where you are right now, if you don't have money to buy lighting, is to just take your painting outside, or your drawing, whatever it is that you've made, especially something that has bright colors. Take it in natural light, not in direct sunlight. That's a mistake I see a lot of people do, where the lighting's too bright and you can't really see the details in the painting. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna find an area that's semi-shaded but still has enough direct sunlight to make the colors really pop. If you do not have that available, what you're gonna do is you're gonna make yourself some lighting, especially if you can't afford the big photography lights. They're really not that expensive. I haven't invested in them yet. I saw a pair on Amazon. I'll try to link them below. I don't have like affiliate links, obviously my channel's really small. So I'll find a few photography packages, I'll link them below, but they're relatively inexpensive. Even if you just buy one softbox, and it usually comes with the light bulb itself, it is around $30, I think, $25 to $30. eBay, you can find them even cheaper, but the orders take a really long time to get here from wherever they're coming from. So I don't really like to order from eBay because I'm way too impatient, and the quality is kind of like hit or miss. So that is my suggestion, is getting yourself a good lighting source. But I'm about to show you something that is, okay, it's a little hood, I guess is the proper term. This is the cheap way to make a lighting source for your photography and for taking pictures, or even when you're filming. And I'm about to show you my dirty little secret, which I really don't want anybody to see, but you're about to see it. And my lighting's gonna change because I only have one because my other one broke. So just bear with me while the lighting gets really bad here for a second. Okay, so excuse the bad lighting, but I'm gonna show you my dirty little secret and how this can help you with the pictures of your art that you want to post online to sell, or if you just want to post them on Instagram to make them look better. It is this very old little lamp. I don't really know what you call these. A lot of the times they have clips on the bottom. I don't per se like the ones with clips because obviously if I'm filming or if I'm taking pictures, I need to be able to move the lighting where I wanted, and I used to have 2 of these, but the other one fell and broke, so I'll probably, instead of purchasing one of these, I'm actually going to invest in real lighting. So what I did here to amplify the light, and I'm going to tell you about the light bulb in a second, is I put tin foil, and this actually helps reflect the light out onto whatever you're lighting, so it's going to amplify the light. Now you can, if you don't want it super strong, you can take some rice paper or even just regular white printer paper, whatever you have, and you can tape that on here if you want a soft focus and not a harsh light. I like really bright light, so I don't have that on mine. And the light bulb here is something called a daylight. It's supposed to look like natural lighting, and that's what you want to get. And you want to get it over, I can't remember the exact wattage, but I'll insert that somewhere here, and then I'll also put a link down in the description where you can purchase one of these. I just get mine from Walmart. They have them in their store brand. I think it's called Great Value. So that's my lighting source, and this is what I use for filming and for when I'm taking pictures of my art or even of myself, whatever you're doing. So these are just general photography tips as well, and the cheap ones. Sorry if my lighting's still a little bit off. I didn't have time to readjust it, so just bear with me. So now let's get into my next tip, which is editing. You're gonna wanna edit your picture. There are plenty of different editing programs. There is something called, I think it's called GIMP. I've tried to use that. It's the thing that's closest to Photoshop. I don't really like that program that much. I find it not very user-friendly if you're a beginner and you don't really know about layers and all of that. I mean, that's more like graphic design stuff, but I find the program a little bit hard to use. The program that I use personally, the one that I just use on my computer, I have 2 different programs I use, one on my phone, one I'm editing on my phone, and then one when I'm editing on my desktop. I use Cyberlink's Photo Director. I'll put a link for that. I think some computers come with it pre-installed on there. I'm pretty sure mine did. It's a pretty inexpensive program, but there's other programs out there that are completely free. I'll try to find some and link them down below, the ones that I've used that I think are user-friendly. But most of the editing I do is on my phone. The program that I like to use on my phone is called Photoshop Express. And the reason I like this is because it gives you the option of being able to play with the saturation. You can enhance certain colors. And what we're going to talk about now is when you are editing your art, to not over edit it and not under edit it. Don't just rely on the natural lighting source, because a lot of the time colors can look brighter or less saturated than they really are. What you are trying to do is not make your art look better than it is, because if somebody buys it and then they get it in the mail or whatever and they see it and they're like, this doesn't look like the picture, you're trying to make it look as if you were looking at it with your naked eye. So a lot of the times it doesn't translate on camera. Your colors aren't going to look as brilliant as they do in person. So you're going to want to mess with the saturation and the vibrancy of your color. You don't want to oversaturate it. You want it just bright enough so it looks like what you made. The clarity also is important. You want it to look like it's actually right in front of you, as if you were looking at it in person. So you're going to want to mess with the sharpness, the clarity. If you have shadows, you can, with that program and other programs, you can lift the shadows. You can mess with the highlights if there's like a glare on it. So I find that program super helpful. I can make an entire video on how to properly edit your pictures. If you're interested in that, just go ahead and let me know down below and I can possibly do a video about that. Another tip I have is to pick a good location for where you're going to be taking pictures of your art, or a backdrop or a background. Now, you don't have to go and spend money on a backdrop. The backdrop I have right here, I'm sure you can probably tell, it's literally just an old white bed sheet that I tacked to the wall. So I think that makes a good backdrop because it's white, it doesn't have anything on it. I think black is actually better to use, but I didn't have a black bed sheet, and I have animals and you would see their hair. So either white or black or some kind of complementary color. You want the background to look super clean, or what you can do is you can place it on your easel or wherever your workstation is. Put something next to it that's relative in size so they can tell how big it is. Most of my work is done on 12-inch vinyl, so you would always know what size it is. But I think how you present your art in the picture is going to determine whether you sell it or not. You can place it on the wall as well. Take it, hanging up on the wall. That's always a great idea, above your sofa or wherever you have to display it. Or there's actually editing programs that I used to use where you can Photoshop your art on the wall. The only problem I find with those programs is if the size of the art doesn't match what you're doing with it. Let's say it was like a sofa and your painting is only like 12 inches or whatever, or an 8x10 or whatever you made, and you put it in one of those things hanging on the wall and you stretch it and you crop it to fit the size of whatever the fake photoshopped painting is, and it's like this giant painting above a couch. Well, that's obviously misleading because it's going to look like the painting's either larger or smaller than it is. But I'll put a link to some little editors that I used to use for that. I just think it's better to try to capture it in real life, or like, instead of editing it into a space. But if that's the only choice you have and you don't have a nice space, then just do that. So what you want to do is create an ambiance. You want to bring the buyer in and make them want to buy your art by how you're presenting it. Another good tip is to put yourself in the picture. A lot of people say that people aren't buying you, they're buying your art and they don't really care about the artist themselves. Actually, it's the complete opposite. They're not just buying the art, they're actually buying into the artist. So you have to think about when you're marketing yourself and marketing your art, this is just a selling tip or just a business tip in general, you have to always be thinking in that sort of way. You're part of the package, you're the artist, you're the person who made it. If you can create some buzz around yourself, people are more inclined to buy your art than if you just listed a bunch of art online. And yes, if you're super talented, you can do that. If you have a really strong style that people are interested in, of course you can do that. But the people are buying into you as much as they're buying into your art. So taking a picture with your art, holding it, smiling it, smiling in the picture, and showing yourself painting, that can really get your art sold fast. But I would say I would only recommend that if it's like for a blog or for Instagram or wherever you post stuff like that. If you're posting it on an online store, you're not going to want yourself in the picture. You literally just want the art, just to clear that up. But you are just as important as the art itself. Okay, so my next tip is your camera. Investing in a nice camera. It doesn't have to be super fancy. You don't have to spend $5,000 on it. even just a couple $100s, so you can at least get something that's like 16 megapixels or higher, so your quality looks really nice. Most smartphones actually have cameras on them now that are over that, so it's not essential, but you do want something with higher megapixels that are going to capture the colors and the texture and make your picture look really crisp and make your art look really good. The camera that I have is a Canon SX. It's a PowerShot. It's a few years old. It's not super fancy. I'm probably due for an upgrade here pretty soon, but it does the job and it works just fine. So I will show you that. I'm going to have to record it on my phone because I don't have two cameras. I only have one. And so you can kind of see what that looks like. So now I'm going to kind of show you a couple of examples of what not to do and what to do. So you're going to actually come with me upstairs into my home. We're in my studio space right now. And you can kind of take a look at the art that I want to sell, the art that I'm going to list. I'm going to take a few pictures and different lighting sources, and you guys can kind of see the process of what to do and what not to do. So let's go. So you're like all up in my face right now. And we are going upstairs in my house. We are going to be looking at where I have some paintings hanging that I want to sell. Excuse my house because it's probably pretty messy right now. Here are the pieces of art I want to sell. Obviously, I have to take them down, and I'm going to show you different lighting. I live in Minnesota, so there's actually, I know, I still haven't taken my furniture out, but we got some snow already, and it's freaking cold in Minnesota, so obviously I'm not going to be taking the pictures outside. I just kind of wanted to show you how I just have them displayed in my house just because, well, why the hell not? So let's get into some different lighting sources and how we can kind of take these photos and get them sold. Okay, so my first thing I'm going to show you is if you don't have a lighting source, what you can do to make your picture look good by using natural light. So I'm going to show you that. If you don't have a clear space somewhere where you could set this in front of a window, you can always use something like a towel. As an example of what you can do, you can go right in front of a window or a door and put something down like a towel or a sheet, preferably a sheet so you don't have like lines and stuff, but you can crop that out and use editing to make this background look nicer. But if you have wooden floors, this looks kind of nasty. What you can do is just use the wooden floor for a backdrop. So that's my first way of kind of what I would do if I didn't have good lighting to take a picture of my art. Okay, so right now I'm showing you an example of over lighting. When your lighting is too direct and too light, sorry if that was so super bright, what happens is you get a glare on your blacks and a highlight, and you can't see any of the detail in the painting. So I just wanted to kind of show you that. Sometimes it's better to have dimmer lighting than too bright because you can always fix that in editing. It is much harder to, once you've overlit the picture, it is much harder to fix it in editing. So even if your picture is a little bit dark, that is better because you can mess with the exposure to bring the lighting up, and it doesn't affect the quality of the picture as much as if you took it in too bright of light. When you try to darken it, it actually really messes with the quality of the picture. So my little tip is to play around with the lighting, and that it's better for it to be dimmer than too bright. It's better if it's a little bit darker than way too bright. So I just repeated myself 8 times for absolutely no reason. Let's turn the light off. And ta-da! See how much better that looks when the light is not too bright. It just looks so much more vibrant. You can see the detail. And so that's a little tip. We're gonna have a couple of what not to do's. Sorry if that was way too close. So I'm gonna go where it's darker over here, or maybe let's do this. Let's shut the light off over on my husband's side. Sorry if you can't really see me, but this is for educational purposes. And sorry if I look disgusting in gross light. My husband's really messy, so don't mind the mess, and his side of the floor might be kind of nasty too, so bear with me while I show you a bad lighting photo and what not to do. Obviously, it's super dark over here. You can see the shadows on my legs. You can't really see anything in this picture. It's just not a good look. Another tip I have is to get a tripod. If you don't, if you don't have like a tripod, me and my tripod, if you don't have one, you can always stack your camera up on books or whatever, or your phone, and use it that way. But the reason I suggest that is to have the stability. If you have a shaky hand or something, it can make the picture super blurry. So having a tripod is really helpful, especially if you want to take pictures of you with your art and in different places. Let's say you want to take it at your easel. That's going to be really helpful to have the tripod. So I'm going to insert a few pictures of different scenarios you can do of yourself with your art, or however you want to set it up. So let's take a look at some of those. So my next tip is when you are posing with your art for Instagram or Facebook or your blog, whatever it is, even if it's for a thumbnail, a lot of people overlook this and think it's not important. And they think, well, the most important part is the art. Well, it is, but here's the thing. If you want to be a successful artist, you have to market yourself. As much as people want to disagree with that, it's actually true. So you have to know how to carry yourself. You have to know what your brand is. You have to know who you really are. You have to be really true to yourself. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Most artists are pretty quirky, have fun personalities. You want to showcase that. But at first, it starts with your confidence. You can take a million pictures, but if you're not confident in yourself, and you're not confident in your skill, and you're not confident in your art, that is going to show through on your pictures. Just showing a little bit of joy, you don't even have to smile. Just let that kind of shine through your pictures. The lighting is really important. It's super tricky when you're taking pictures of yourself with your art, because one, obviously you're going to want to look good in the picture. You don't want to look like a mess. You want to know how to brand yourself. And this even goes down to as far as styling. Don't have messy hair. If you don't wear makeup, that's fine, but you want to look put together. Even your outfit, styling your outfit, coordinate it with the art. How you pose is important. What type of personality you have. So you want your personality to come through the pictures. if you're not like super happy, joy all the time, well then maybe you're not gonna smile in every single picture, but that's fine. That's part of, let's say you're like dark and moody. Well, that's how you want your pictures to feel, are dark and moody. Like for my own personality, I have lots of energy, I'm quirky and a little bit odd sometimes. I have a pretty funky style. So that's what I'm going to be like in my pictures. I want to be me in my pictures and let my personality shine through that. So sometimes I'm not always happy, sometimes I'm not always super quirky, sometimes I'm quiet and reserved, and I also have pictures like that showcase that part of my personality. It all comes down really honestly just to your confidence. You really want your personality to shine through. The lighting when you're taking pictures with your art is super tricky because of course you want to look good in the pictures, but I would say the most important thing is the art, even though I said it's not necessarily the most important thing, but what you're doing is you're trying to showcase yourself with your art. But you do not want to lose your art in the picture. Sometimes when you're too, like your personality is too big, it can outshine your own art. Well, obviously you don't want that to happen. I would say I sometimes do that. Sometimes I like, I get a little overzealous, and sometimes maybe my personality is bigger than what I've even painted. So it's a fine balance there. And with the lighting, like I said, it's always better to have dim lighting so your colors pop more. So if the lighting's too bright, yeah, sure, you're gonna look really good, but the quality of your art's gonna look really bad. So I would say just play with your lighting. Better to have it dim than super bright. And then if you don't, you know, you can airbrush yourself in editing if you don't look that good, or change the exposure or whatever it is. But that's where most of the magic's gonna happen, in the editing. And like I said, if you wanna see that video on how I do that process, just go ahead and let me know down below. And one more thing, you don't have to be like a professional model. If you don't even wanna show your face, even just a close-up of your hand with your art is good enough, or just showing the space where you work. People can get an idea of who you are just from your workspace. Or even if you take a shot from behind, I do a lot of those too if I don't want to do my hair and makeup that day or whatever, whatever it is. But I think it is important to market yourself with your art, because if you want a long-term career as an artist, the artist is seriously as important as the art. Just look at all the famous artists that there are. Frida. When you think of Frida, is the first thing that comes to your mind her art? No, it's really not. It's her. Picasso, Andy Warhol. You sometimes think of the person before you think of their art. And if you want to be an iconic artist, well, you got to have personality, the style, the pictures, everything to go along with that. Okay, so those are all of my photography tips for making your art look good and being able to sell it. So just let me know if you guys have any tips down below. I am always willing to learn new things, or if you've made a similar video, just go ahead and share your link. I'd be happy to watch it. And thanks for hanging out with me. I like to try to have my videos out every single Wednesday. If they're not up on Wednesday, they'll usually be out on Thursday. And thanks for hanging out with me. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. I could really use the support. My channel is struggling a little bit. I talked about that last time. I have slow, steady growth, so I've been a lot more positive about it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that has subscribed to me and become my friend. I really enjoy the interaction. So just, yeah, give me a like, a share, a comment, whatever you can do. And I look forward to hanging out with you next week. Adios, guys.